Bills Sports Pod, covering the New York sports scene and behind the scenes, including the Buffalo Bills, New York Jets, New York Mets, and everything else in New York sports worth your precious time. And now here's Joe Pastor and Glenn Ferretti.
We're here with Matthew Terp, a fellow member of Bills Mafia, who actually was at the game this Sunday. And we just wanted to get your thoughts about, what the atmosphere was like, because obviously it's incredible on TV, but actually being there and being part of it's a different experience. So what was it like?
I mean, it was amazing. I mean, if you've never been to a Bills game, even if you're not a Bills fan, I would go to a game anyway. It's just the atmosphere is always electric, always fun. It was my son's first game. Carter's 11, so I took him to his first game, and the atmosphere was just awesome. Obviously, with everything that happened with Damar, a lot of people had shirts on, had hearts, had numbers on, holding up to number 3. Love, prayers for Damar. People were wearing number 3 hats. Just everyone wanted to make it known that we were thinking about him. And then, so just being there was just electric on its own. Then with everything going on with Damar, and then the game started. We caught the ball, and then we took it all the way back and ran it for a touchdown. And the place just absolutely exploded. It was just awesome when Hines took that ball back. I didn't actually see it myself, but they said that Sean McDermott had tears in his eyes. Josh Allen was just in complete awe of it. I mean, the place just absolutely exploded. It's probably one of the coolest touchdowns I've ever seen.
Agreed.
Yeah, it was good.
Yeah, that was crazy. So I want to ask you about the tailgating pregame experience, because this had to be a little different because it's usually a little rowdy up there in Buffalo. So I'm just interested to know, was it different from a normal experience before? I mean, was there a lot more love going around, or what was it like?
I'd probably say it was about the same. I have a feeling that everyone wanted to honor Damar by just keeping things pretty much normal, and so it was pretty rowdy, pretty crazy. A lot of fun. Patriots fans were having a good time. Bills fans were having a good time. Bills fans were having a good time giving it to Patriots fans, as we normally do. But no, it seemed pretty normal. Again, a lot of people were there. It was awesome to see all the different sweatshirts, the T-shirts, the pins, the hats, prayers for Damar. I was actually expecting people to be capitalizing on it as far as selling things from the street side to try to be making money, and I was happy to report that didn't happen at all. There was no peddlers trying to make money on him. Everyone had their own stuff, and it was a normal environment with everyone obviously thinking about what was going on with him. But we've had some great news about him coming out of it and starting to get better. And today was good news about him actually coming home to Buffalo. So that was good news. But as far as tailgating goes, still a lot of fun. I had my 11-year-old with me, and my brother-in-law had his 13-year-old with her. So we were a little bit more, let's say, a little bit less relaxed than normal. But no, it was still a great time.
Still saw a couple of tables broken. That's always good,
always,
right?
yeah. A couple tables broken, a couple fires out of control, but yeah, still a good time.
Yeah,
that's cool.
It's pretty cool that the young people got to experience that, because that's a memory that 11-year-old, 13-year-old's going to have for a lifetime.
Yep, I mean, especially the run back to start off the game. But what's great about what's happened with Damar is, and I've heard it said a couple times on the radio and different places, is that the whole entire country just came together around him, around the sport. People were not afraid of praying on TV. People were not afraid of saying prayers for you, because it was just such a tragedy that almost happened, that his life was saved twice. He had to be brought back. It's a big shout out to our first responders who responded immediately and saw, but yeah, the whole entire world came together. I was watching the Broncos game, and Russell Wilson's number 3 and the opposing team number 3 got together in the middle of the field on the logo, and got together and just prayed. It's just been great to see everyone come together over this one thing.
Yeah, and what did they do
fantastic.
for the first responders at the game? Because obviously watching it on TV was a little bit different, but I know they were planned on recognizing them there.
They did. They brought all of them in. They all came in before the game, and they put them in a little semicircle, and basically everyone just tipped their hat, shouted and cheered, and thanks for the first responders. they had a moment of silence first for Damar, and then completely thanked all the first responders that helped out during that, and that are on the current staff of the Buffalo Bills. So it was a great moment. They deserve a lot of respect, not just now, and just great that they're getting the respect that they deserve, because it is a tough job. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, it's funny. And my brother, he's actually a DC police officer, but he volunteers on the side and drives an ambulance. And it was funny because he actually posted online, because a lot of people had posted like a little meme talking about like the lowest paid people, getting this recognition. And quite frankly, he was offended by it, because he's like, anybody that gets into that profession is certainly not choosing it for the amount of money that they make. They're choosing it because they have the, potentially the opportunity to save somebody's life, and be there in a time of need. So I think, more than anything, those guys, the guy, I know the player or the staff member that removed the face mask, obviously the guy administering the CPR, it was just, absolutely incredible. But that's why they do it. They don't do it for the paycheck. So I'm glad they were recognized.
Yep, it would be nice if we could and would pay them more. I actually used to be an EMT. I just volunteered for a while, and I just know they see a lot. Like police officers and firefighters, they see a lot, and they shield us from a lot, and they go through a lot, emotionally and physically. So it would be nice if this recognition would turn into some more support for them. But you're right, they don't get into it for the money. They get into it because they can handle it, and they just want to be able to help people out.
Yeah, and that was a big part of it, is they can't unsee what they've seen, right? So going through that is, that they live with that and I know the players will also, that were part of that scene, but I think they did a tremendous job by kind of shielding everybody from, what was going on, and just let people do what they needed to do. So obviously we're a week later, and it's such a positive outcome, which is phenomenal. So, we couldn't be more happy for the outcome of everything across the board. We talked a little bit about it earlier.
Yeah, that's another positive thing that came out of this, was talking about like mental health, these big, strong guys, that had a hard time with this, mentally, that it's okay to, seek help, that, McDermott said it's not a sign of weakness to admit you need some help. It's a sign of strength. So, it's just amazing how much good has came out of a bad situation.
And it's going to be tough for these guys, because they do this day in and day out, and it's not just the fact that they saw one of their comrades, one of their buddies, get CPR, and that is a thing all in itself. But the fact that they know at any one hit that could be them, and so that can constantly be going through their mind if they have families, and just realizing the mortality of their sport is right around the corner. That's also got to be extremely difficult. So there were people calling for, let's get back to football. Let's get back to these guys. These guys kind of know the injuries of the sport. But when you see that right in front of you, that could be you just because of one unlucky hit, that's really got to hit them hard and stay with them for a while.
Yeah, definitely. And I think it was good when we were listening to Deion Dawkins talk, and he was talking about how, he's not a superstar, he's not an X-Men character. He's like, dude, I'm a human being. I'm a normal person. Like, things affect us just like anything else. But I think, and Joe and I mentioned this earlier, it was nice to see them just get back and play football. And I think understanding that, yes, it could happen, but it is something that's been like super rare and obviously hasn't been part of the NFL. And these guys are able to go out there and play full speed, because when you're in the NFL, like, you can't play half speed. Like, you got to go all in. That's when those big injuries do wind up happening. So they were very professional, obviously, across the board. You saw all the teams strapping up and get back to it. So it was nice to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and it was nice to see that he was able to talk to his teammates before the game, because that whole, focusing on the game, I think it was a lot easier for them once they heard from, their friend, their brother, their teammate, that he was making that recovery to get their head into the game and not be wondering, because that was, I think, the hard part for a lot of people, was just the uncertainty of the situation at the beginning. And why those things, like the prayers, like Dan Orlovsky broke out with prayer in the middle of, I don't know what it was, ESPN or whatever. He goes, when I say prayers to Damar, I'm not just going to say prayers for Damar. We're actually going to pray, and I'm going to pray right now. And yeah, that was great. That just about how people have been able to refocus, on good things.
All right, so let's get back to the game though a little bit. I mean, it wasn't a blowout early, so Terp, tell us about the first half. You had to be a little nervous there.
Very, very stressful. Very, very stressful. Obviously, starting off, we scored that first touchdown, which was fantastic. Then we had a 3-and-out with them, which was fantastic, and that's how we thought the game was going to go. And then we didn't do so well. Then they scored. Then we scored, and at half, 14-14. You're like, the only thing I was thinking was, obviously, we want to beat the Pats, but I want home field advantage for the first two games. It was about second place. It wasn't about kicking the Pats out of the playoffs, even though that was fantastic. It was about making sure we secure second place so we have home field advantage. And then second half started. We did good. We had some good touchdowns. Obviously, I can't remember if it was the first half or the second half when Hines had his second one. I think it was second.
It was the second half after. So the second half started out with the field goal from New England, and then he answered it, with the touchdown.
Yeah, that was right in front of me and my son. We were on the end zone. That he caught the ball, and I was like, he caught the ball like 2 yards into the end zone. I was like, no, don't run this back. And then he starts running. I'm like, oh my gosh, he's running. And then we went from no to yeah. And even afterwards, my son was like, Dad, you started out saying no to yeah. Because obviously it was just fantastic. Yeah. And then they could.
Is that like old guy versus young guy? Like he wanted him to run it out. The old guys wanted him to kneel it.
I mean, take the 25 yards. And then the Patriots got scared of him. So they decided to squib kick it and then kicked it out of bounds the next time for a penalty. But I mean, it was great. We had a lot of the major players making touchdowns. We had Knox with that second touchdown, and then we had Brown, we had Diggs, and then we almost just completely sealed their fate with who was it? Davis. That would have been a touchdown right in front of us.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
yeah. Gabriel Scissorhands on that play.
But it was great. We had some turnovers, which was scary, making sure that we were sealing up the game right at the very end. We had to turn over, and then they had a couple interceptions. But
it was amazing how the splash plays, those big touchdown plays you're talking about, to Brown and to Diggs at the end. It's almost like they needed to get back on the field, settle down, and then these big splash plays happened. The interception by Milano, and that was the same thing too, where he was going to return it out of the end zone. I was thinking kneel, but then he ran. Then you're like go. Yep. The funny thing too about those situations is they asked McDermott before the game. They said, if you had won the coin toss, would you have received or deferred? He said, I probably shouldn't tell you this, but he would have deferred if they won the opening kickoff, and it never would have happened. So it's a good thing we lost that coin toss.
I guess so. Still hurts.
I know every team defers now for some reason, which it's like you got a super powered offense with Josh Allen. It's like, well, you want to go on defense first.
Yep, I agree. But yeah, those touchdowns were great. And especially with my 11-year-old son being there for the first time, just seeing all those big guys score and the interceptions and everything. I mean, my first game was when I was, I think, out of college age, like in around 21. We played the Houston Texans, and we still lost. I didn't actually see a winning game for like 5 games in. They're growing up right, which is good.
Man, who are the quarterbacks losing to the Houston Texans?
It was probably Fitzpatrick back then, I think.
Okay.
Or it might have been E.J. Manuel.
Maybe Trent Edwards.
The lost years, the J.P.
Edwards,
Losman years.
I never saw Losman because he was right after. He was close after. It was I can't remember. There's been like 13, 14 different ones in there.
Yeah, Nathan Peterman. He even started again this week, didn't he? I mean,
yes, he did.
That guy won't go away.
Well,
he threw a touchdown pass. Actually,
I think we intercepted him.
Believe it or
a
not,
couple weekends ago, didn't we?
He did. He finally completed a pass to a Buffalo Bill in the end zone. Just he wasn't a Bill anymore.
That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah. So no, it was awesome.
So now you're on to Miami. So you're going back to the Highmark Stadium with your son. He's probably dying to go again, right?
No, probably not going to be taking him. My wife actually might be going with some friends, so I'd be staying home with the kiddos and watching it from TV. So I'm not too worried about that. I don't think Tua should be back in after having 2 confirmed but 3 actual concussions. But I doubt he wants to come back and play at Highmark Stadium in 30-degree weather with the concrete grass. So I doubt we'll be seeing him. So
yeah. So it sounds like you're happy with the double home field advantage. This has been kind of a hit or miss on a couple of text threads. Some Bills fans are now kind of taking the feel a little slighted route where they should still have a chance at the number 1 seed, and some are just happy with the way it fell. So what are your thoughts on that?
I mean, obviously, I would have rather had the bye because then we're guaranteed one less game for people to rest up, and we're guaranteed home field advantage the whole entire rest of the time. The problem is that you get a bye and you're about 2 weeks removed, and if you see that a lot of times, and we saw it last year, both first place teams lost their first game. So you don't get on the field. You don't keep playing. We had a lot of time off. That was a fortunate thing that happened. We had some time off, like we had a bye. Pretty much everyone's healthy right now. So I like the fact that we have home field advantage. You come into, I still like to call it Ralph Wilson Stadium. You come into Highmark or Ralph Wilson Stadium. It's going to be a tough game. It's going to be an absolute tough game. So I'd rather have the home field advantage. And when we do win, unless Kansas City loses, nobody's going to have home field advantage. And Bills travel. So the Mafia travels, which is nice. So,
and I almost think the casual fans that go to the game at the neutral site, the overwhelming majority, is going to be a pro Buffalo crowd because of what happened. And that's why I'm okay with the neutral site, is because of what happened, because I was saying, well, all that really matters is Damar's okay. I don't care about the Bengals game. I don't care about the NFL making money. None of that should matter. All that should matter is this young man is okay. And if I'm going to say that, then I think, in my opinion, I should be okay with the way things turned out. I shouldn't all of a sudden flip out and say how unfair it is. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and that's fine. But for where I'm coming from, me personally, I wouldn't feel right if I was sitting on here now complaining about how it's unfair when I just said previously all that matters is this young man's okay.
Yep.
Yeah, no, and you can only deal with the cards that you're dealt, right? So I mean, the NFL had a tough decision anyway to look at it. When you got two teams that didn't play the same number of games as the other teams, it wasn't going to be an easy decision, and something was going to have to happen. I mean, I actually felt Kansas City had a good gripe of saying, if we have a higher win percentage, we shouldn't be going on the road to Baltimore. Luckily, they took care of them, so they didn't have to really worry about it. But Bills fans, who knows what could have happened in that Cincinnati game? I mean, they're obviously one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Anything could have happened. It's like a neutral site AFC championship is not the worst thing in the world. That could be kind of cool to see. I mean, there's no advantage for Kansas City, so they took that away. I think it's the best thing that they really could have done. I was hoping for the 8th playoff team, even though the Jets still blew it against the Dolphins. But that got nixed pretty quickly.
Well, that was a very electric game, though. So much offense in that game.
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that one. I'm sure we'll spend tons of time talking about the 11-6 barn burner.
Yeah. You gotta prop your eyelids open with toothpicks to watch that one.
Yeah. As crazy as it sounds, though, and this probably is going to sound pro Jets, I think the AFC East is set up to be really strong in the next few years because the Jets, I mean, we overachieved. I mean, the Vegas over and under for the Jets was 4 wins this year. Mm-hmm. I mean, we wound up 7-9 and went 1-6 down the stretch. We got to figure out the quarterback position, just like Buffalo. You guys went 20 years without a quarterback.
So, watching the Jets more closely after we've been doing this, it reminds me of what it was like to be a Bills fan in the drought. Good defense, good running game, some good skill players. Is your coach good? Is he not? Who's your quarterback going to be? And then you fall just a little short of the playoffs. How many times did you feel that way, Terp, during those dark years?
So many. I always knew I could watch the first half and then take a nap for the second half or go work outside because I know we weren't going to be in it, especially with Fist Magic. I always knew he would disappoint me at the end of the game. He played for Jets. He played for the Jets, and we were playing the Jets, and I remember he was doing pretty good, and he was a golden boy for the Jets, and at the end of the game, he threw an interception in the end zone. I was like, that's why we got rid of him. That's why he wasn't good for us. At the end of the day, you got to figure out who's going to be behind center, and a lot of things change. But we got a really top tier defense that's playing well. But that's going to be the big offseason is what do we do? I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Aaron Rodgers back there. We'll see. He's always non-committal to Green Bay at the end of the year, so we'll see. Lamar Jackson. There's a lot of options that could really change the Jets, but.
I mean, even
AFC's
Derek Carr is a
strong.
big upgrade. I mean, he's not ideal, but he's a big upgrade for sure over what you have.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
anything
don't want to
is.
see Lamar in our conference or in our division, but I think Lamar will probably be really good for you guys.
I know.
That
I don't know how you let a guy like that walk. I talked about that before. It's like when you get a guy that's that good, I don't care. You just can't let these guys walk out the door.
wait,
It doesn't usually work well.
wait, do you guys have more money than Baltimore does to be able to spend on a quarterback?
We'd have to sure cut some players down, but I don't think it's impossible because we don't have a quarterback under contract now.
Mm-hmm.
We essentially have Wilson on a rookie deal and 2 free agents, and Joe Flacco will certainly not be back next year and doesn't cost much money.
Did you see Joe Flacco's son was on the field warming up wearing a Tyreek Hill jersey?
Oh, really?
On his team. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah.
He wore the opposing team's jersey. Got an autograph for him too. Yeah,
That's funny.
that was funny.
So,
All right. Well, we appreciate you hopping on, Terp.
yeah, you're welcome. I mean, anytime you guys want to talk about Bills or speaking of opposing teams, anytime you want to talk about the Red Sox, feel free to let me know.
Oh yeah, we got a lot of baseball coming up for sure.
But you guys are Mets fans, though, right?
Mets fans,
Yes,
yep.
sir. Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
but we have a common hate, so that's okay.
Yeah.
We can relate on some of these things.
Mm-hmm. Good. But yeah, well, thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on, buddy.
All right, looking forward to this weekend.
All right,
Go
have
Bills.
a great night.
Thanks, guys.
Go Bills.
See ya. I won't say that, but good luck. Yeah, that was cool. Good to see
Yeah.
Terp. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
But yeah, I think we should maybe spend a little time talking about the Jets. It's the last 2 weeks where Bills have rightfully so. But I think we'll get a little bit more into the Bills at the end. I think we should definitely cover some of the playoff games and what we think is going to happen. But the Jets now enter, the offseason, I wouldn't say earlier than expected. I would say as expected. I think we were just hoping we'd probably be in a better situation from the quarterback standpoint, being the end of the second year of a very highly drafted quarterback. But I've never heard a coach in a press conference tell his quarterback that he needs to take some time away from football and read a book. Like that was literally Robert Sala's definition. That's not good.
Yeah, I've never heard that either. Read a book. I wonder if he had some specific suggestions. I wonder that would be like a good thing in the comments. If you have comments, either like serious comments or funny ones about like what book, what book Wilson should be reading in his spare time, like being a teammate for dummies, we'd probably come up with some good ones if we thought about it. So we'd like your input there in the comments. If you got a good book for Wilson, put it in there. And speaking of other Wilsons, Garrett Wilson had a pretty nice game. Despite the lack of scoring, he made some nice plays, which I think was good because thinking back to the Seahawks game, I didn't think he looked that impressive. I felt that like there was a couple times on third down he was running short of the first down marker, and his body language didn't seem good. But it seemed like he had a much better game in this week.
And I think that's what Garrett Wilson is going to grow into. Like he had an unbelievable rookie year. I mean, he had over 1,000 yards receiving. Probably is going to be in the top 5 voting for offensive rookie of the year. But the biggest thing that he definitely showed on the field a lot was obviously the frustration around the quarterback play. And, when the balls were thrown all over the place, just kind of showing that emotion. And, he's a rookie. Like he's going to have to develop those type of leadership skills because he's got all the talent in the world. And listening to any of his press conferences, his mind is so focused on just being a winner and getting better and being part of this team and kind of working together and gelling on things. And it's just going to take some time. I mean, it's really just going to take a little bit of time. And like I said earlier, a quarterback can change that for him. I mean, if this guy has anybody we didn't have a quarterback. We were talking about this today today with a buddy is we didn't have a quarterback throw for over 10 touchdowns in the last 3 seasons.
It's unbelievable. In
9.
today's NFL, with the way the rules are to favor passing.
I mean, does that even seem possible? The last one was,
No.
I think Darnold had 14 touchdowns 4 years ago, 14 or 16 touchdowns. And then every year since the last 3 years has been 9 or under for our starting quarterback.
No, it's really unfathomable. It really is.
So for him to have 1,000 yards.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's definitely a very, very talented player. And, so yeah, with the attitude, it wasn't horrible. I wouldn't think too much of it. Part of it, I agree, probably is a rookie. Probably part of it is, too, he's a wide receiver, and wide receivers are a breed unto their own.
Yeah, I mean, the team is going to have some decisions to make. I'm trying to figure out, I mean, just on this, since we're talking about Wilson, is I don't think he's an NFL quarterback at all. I don't think maybe I'll be wrong, proven wrong in the future that, they're going to give him an opportunity in the 3rd year, but I really think everything that they're saying right now is just saving face, going to make some really tough decisions, but they are going to go after a veteran quarterback to lead this team, because you don't get to 6-3, 7-4, and then just tank the rest of the season because of quarterback play. That taste in your mouth is left like we wasted an opportunity to be in the playoffs.
Absolutely.
I mean, we won 7 games with a quarterback not throwing 10 touchdowns.
Does anyone else's head roll, or probably not? I would think.
The big talk is LaFleur, the offensive coordinator. And the biggest mistake, I mean, you have a second-year head coach, second-year offensive coordinator. You got to bring in people that know the game inside and out. I mean, you can't just expect everybody to just learn. Just think about taking a new job and having nobody that's kind of been there to provide some guidance and leadership. So that's another big talk. I've heard the name Gary Kubiak potentially coming in. Not even, maybe to be a coordinator, but also just to be on the staff to kind of provide some guidance and oversight. Because if LaFleur doesn't become kind of the scapegoat, but I wouldn't feel bad either way if he was let go. We definitely need someone in there with some additional creativity, but you got to have the playmakers to make the plays. I mean, look at the Bills went from Dable to Dorsey, and I know they probably would say they regressed a little bit. I mean, Dable's proving to be a pretty exceptional coach. But dude, you got to have the players. You got to have the guys that can make the plays.
You do. It's like Bill Parcells said, it's hard to cook dinner when you can't go shopping for the groceries.
Right.
So,
Are the Patriots good because of Belichick or Brady?
The cheating.
Right. Yeah, both.
Yeah, all of the above. Check a few boxes, probably.
Yeah, all of the above. So we got some big decisions to make. I was watching today. There, some press conferences with Quinn and Williams, who, and I love what the guy said. These are the types of leaders you want, because he's in the 4th or just finishing his 4th year, heading into his 5th year. So he's like, I'm sitting out OTAs until I have a contract done. And, they asked him, why is that? And he said, because I've done everything that's been asked of me on the field, off the field, been a perfect leader, example for this team. He's like, I've earned the right. And I agree with him 100%. The next question they asked him was, I think the Jets have not re-signed their last 7 first-round picks, which is crazy.
Wow. How is that possible?
Yeah, I know. Jamal Adams being the biggest one. They've traded him away because you have a losing franchise that all you're always doing is just chasing, something good to happen and be sustainable. And I think this is the year where we're going to make some investments in some of those defensive players, just because of obviously the production on the field. I mean, you can't replace the production that Quinn and Williams and the leadership that he provided. So I think that's going to change this year with him. I mean, there's no way he's going to be off the team. And then we'll kind of work on figuring out the offense. I mean, you got Breece Hall coming back. You got Garrett Wilson there, obviously. They'll probably let Corey Davis walk. We'll have to get some additional receivers, but
is there Mims coming back?
I doubt it. No.
Yeah. Okay.
Barrios most likely not.
Okay. Okay.
We need Elijah Moore to play the way he's capable of playing. He didn't have the year, but he's battling with Zach Wilson, for the first half of the year as well, when he wasn't getting the ball. So those are the guys, though, that you cut bait with. I mean, I hate to say it, the guys that aren't team guys, that aren't, stepping up and being leaders. Like Garrett Wilson says the right things, and he demonstrates the right behaviors of when he's talking about being responsible for his actions and things like that. So I don't want to deal with all the negativity in the locker room. You got to have people that, are going to be there, that are going to win. You got Sauce Gardner, DJ Reed. You got some serious leadership on this team right now. That could really
CJ Mosley, what's his status?
Yeah,
is he becoming a little disappointing? Because I thought he was a really good player. I remember it was kind of like with the Quentin Williams situation that it was a few years ago that Bills were playing the Jets. CJ Mosley went out of the game, and then we just took over. So I always think, oh yeah, this guy must be really good. But since I've been paying more attention to him, it's like, is he really that good?
Yeah, no, it was actually interesting because the fan voting for him for Pro Bowl was less than 20%. I forget, he was 6th or 7th. Mm-hmm. And Salah talked about this, but from a coaching and player voting, he was one of the top vote getters. That's why he was voted into the Pro Bowl. Mm-hmm. And he's had a tremendous year. Led the team in tackles. He's been phenomenal for us. The biggest thing with them, and sometimes this goes with teams where it doesn't look like they're doing much, is they didn't get any turnovers. When you're a defense, we were holding people to barely any points, but not getting any turnovers. We weren't getting any turnovers the last few games and scoring no touchdowns. It was the biggest disaster possible.
Yeah, it is. It's those the turnovers. I always hate to say turnovers and special teams because then I feel that I'm preaching boomer football. Then the next thing I'm going to talk about is field position and controlling the clock and stuff like that. But yeah, those things. When you look back to the Bills game, that made the difference was the turnovers, was the special teams play. So yeah, that is kind of a weird thing that the Jets didn't get more turnovers this year with how well the defense played, particularly in certain games,
Yeah, it was tough to watch. It was death by a million inches watching the game. And it was basically, can we hold them to a field goal every time? Because every team was driving, the ball down the field, and we were eventually stopping them, but we were not getting any fumbles, no interceptions. And that's, but that comes with a lot of young players as well. A lot of those guys, Michael Clemens, getting some sacks, learning how to strip the ball appropriately. Franklin Myers, Sauce Gardner, taking those chances. They didn't really throw at him. You can't really blame him. But you got some young safeties back there. You got Whitehead from Tampa Bay. Adams was another rookie. So they had a lot of rookies playing. These guys are going to have to learn how to be ball hawks and start getting some turnovers. But just a complete collapse for this team down the stretch. Really disappointing from where they started to where they finished, but I can't harp on it enough. They're going to figure something out from a quarterback, and the options are going to present themselves probably pretty soon. And I think we'll know pretty quickly what the Jets are going to do.
I'd like to say you can't do any worse.
I know,
right?
Yeah, no, they can't. Is Derek Carr and Davante Adams truly going to leave Oakland? Maybe.
I don't know, man. Maybe. I think Derek Carr's gone for sure.
He's definitely gone.
Yeah, but will Adams leave next? Who knows?
He basically said he went there just to be his teammate.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize they were best friends, but
Stidham did have a nice little connection. The Raiders looked awful against the Chiefs, but. They did have a nice little connection in the previous game was against the Niners. But also could you afford that? Because Davante Adams is a big, big contract.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who knows? We got, honestly, receiver would be a part of it, but the quarterback's so much bigger for the Jets.
It is.
And we're going to, we'll have a Jets fan on in the next few weeks to talk a little more moratorium of the Jets and the future of the team. So that'll be exciting as well.
Right on. Now, in the future, so the Bills got Miami, this week. And, as a Bills fan, you certainly don't want to look past any team, regardless of who's the quarterback, even if it is Bridgewater, playing, which I would assume it would be him if it wasn't Tua. I mean, it's just his pinky, to my knowledge, that's hurt.
Yeah, I think it's Bridgewater or Skylar Thompson. You're screwed. I mean, you're not beating Buffalo.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with the receivers either, because they all got hurt at the end of the jet. Well, Tyreek Hill was complaining. I honestly think he just couldn't get open.
He's been hobbling. He's been hobbling quite a bit since I have him on one of my fantasy teams. So I paid a lot of attention to him for about the past month. He's been hobbling on and off, but I could also see him from the way he likes to run his mouth that maybe he was making excuses.
Yeah, well, he was not getting open, that's for sure. And then at the end of that game, the Jets had a terrible call on a horse collar on Jalen Waddle that actually took him out of the game. So, I mean, at first glance, you're probably like, oh, Buffalo's first round game against Miami was the tougher game. But, man, they might be the walking wounded coming in.
Like, I thought you had to grab the collar for it to be a horse collar, because he definitely did not have the collar.
Yeah. Not that I wanted the Jets to win. But you guys would have played, the Steelers, I think, if
I think so.
Miami would have
been the Steelers, who I'd rather play Miami than the Steelers.
Yeah, now.
It
probably wouldn't have said that 5 weeks ago, though.
No, well, we killed them like 31-3, I believe, when we played them the first time. Gabe Davis had a remarkable play. He wrestled the ball away from Micah Fitzpatrick in the end zone. Yeah. And that's why I get a little frustrated, and I like to tease him. I got nothing but love for Davis, but I do like to tease him every now and then, because he's either Gabriel Scissorhands or Toe Drag Swag Davis. He's making these incredible plays. So I do got that name for him too.
Right.
But
that'll be good. We'll like I said, I'll probably root for Buffalo this week, give you the 1 week. And then it's all Cincinnati or Kansas City moving on from there.
How about the Chargers? Like,
so
putting all their starters in there? Like, what are you doing?
In a meaningless game?
Yeah, and guys like Mike Williams, who has an injury history in general, particularly this season.
Yeah, so I'm pulling that up. So, the Chargers are they're the 8:15 game on Saturday. So, we'll talk about that one first. Who does that? I mean, who gets their guy injured in an absolute meaningless game?
That you lose anyway. It's not like, you don't want to, lose a game and maybe have bad feelings going into the playoffs. You lost the game anyway.
I know. I didn't understand that at all when I saw it actually later, because I wasn't watching that game live.
Yeah, I didn't either. Bosa, I had the red zone on at that point. Bosa came out of the game too.
Oh my God. Yeah, so they're playing Jacksonville. So that is a great matchup, I think, for a first round matchup. When just kind of looking at the slate, that's probably one of the most intriguing ones. Obviously, I'm bitter because we should still have Trevor Lawrence if we didn't decide to beat the Rams for when they won the Super Bowl last year. We would have had the number 1 pick 2 years ago. And
kind of like how the Texans decided to win.
Yeah, I know. And they fired the coach like 5 minutes later. Yeah. Well, I agree. You're not playing. These guys aren't playing to lose, especially when you're putting backups in. But, Trevor Lawrence has obviously come on as, a tremendous quarterback of taking care of the football. You think about Trevor Lawrence in college, like, he's throwing for 300-400 yards, having these huge games. And, he looks like a lot of his games now are 200 yards, a touchdown, not turning the ball over. But really just coming into a high percentage passer. So I don't think that's as much of a walk for the Los Angeles Chargers as it is for other things. I think they're going to put up a heck of a fight.
No, it's not, because also besides the fact that he plays it safe, he does work a couple of like highlight reel throws in there. And just also with the Chargers, I'm not too convinced with their coaching, and it's not just the starting players still in the game last week. Just throughout the season, there's just been a lot of times where I'm like, hey, what are these guys doing? It's almost like the coaches are holding that team back. But whoever
plays like Madden football, right? I mean, he goes for it every fourth down.
When it doesn't make sense. I mean, sometimes, but yeah, it's just, I don't get it with what goes on with them. But I think whoever does win that game may have a chance to get an upset even the following week.
Well, definitely. And I think an underrated, and we'll go on to the other game in a second, but an underrated piece of that is Travis Etienne. I mean, the guy's essentially a rookie. I think he had over 1,100 yards rushing, because I saw a thing where my boy Brees Hall tweeted out he would have been the rookie of the year if he would have played the whole year. But somebody wrote, Etienne's essentially a rookie too, and he had over 1,100 yards. So they're definitely, I mean, from going to just the Urban Meyer disaster to getting into the playoffs, winning their division. I mean, that team,
their receivers, Evan Ingram at tight end, that obnoxious contract they gave to Christian Kirk. Going into the year, I'm like, what are they doing? This is why the Jags suck, because they're giving a slot receiver all this money. But clearly it's made a big difference. I mean, Trevor Lawrence,
your boy too, right?
Has even made Zay Jones into a viable option at wide receiver in the National Football League. So yeah, we're saying a lot of good things about Jacksonville here, and they're well earned.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they're
good coaching.
Exactly. Yeah, Doug Peterson.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So the next game, Cincinnati, Baltimore, is the afternoon game.
Baltimore
on Saturday as well.
No chance.
Right? What if Lamar plays?
I'd still only give him a 10% chance. Cincinnati, to me, is the team as a Bills fan that I'm most concerned about. If I had a choice to play them or the Chiefs, I would. We're probably going to have to play both. But if I had a choice which one I would play, I would pick the Chiefs right now.
Right.
The amount of weapons.
But I mean, Lamar's changes things, I feel like. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't think they're going to win, but I think it changes things. I mean,
absolutely.
I hate the whole, hey, you can't beat a team 3 times or it's hard to. It's I'd feel pretty good if I already whooped them twice, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It was I don't know. I don't even know if that's a real stat or anything like that. But I would be confident, but I'd be hoping to play against Huntley if I was Cincinnati.
Oh, 100%. 100%. But even with Lamar, I still think I still think Cincinnati handles them by 8-9 points, probably maybe even 10. I just think Cincinnati is really hot right now.
Okay.
Baltimore, I think, is not, from struggling so long. Maybe getting your starter back gives you that jolt of energy. But yeah, I just don't see it out of Baltimore. I would be shocked if either Baltimore or Miami won. I think they both have about the same chance of winning with their starters or their backups. I just don't see it.
Okay, yeah. So that's the Sunday. Okay, that's the Sunday 8:15 game. Mm-hmm. Weird the way this is scheduled. So the Saturday afternoon is actually the Niners and Seahawks.
Seahawks, yeah.
Which the ex-Jet Geno Smith behind the helm. And, that's an interesting one, too. I mean, I know the Niners defense is number one, unbelievable, but Brock Purdy having to play his first playoff game is very different than playing in the regular season.
Yeah, but it just seems like whoever's the quarterback in San Francisco, it doesn't matter.
Right.
Which is just really interesting to me. But yeah, Seattle's no slouch. I mean, Kenneth Walker III, he's another talk for Rookie of the Year for Seattle there.
He's got to win it.
Player. Yeah. And their receivers are obviously great.
I think San Francisco wins the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's more due to McCaffrey and the defense than it is as much Purdy in the first game. I don't think Seattle's going to just let him throw all over them, even though they had one of the worst pass defenses until they played the Jets.
But yeah, I think that's another game too where I'd be shocked if the Seahawks won. So far the only game to me that's really like a coin toss is the Jags and Chargers.
Well, the next one you might think is a coin toss. So you got the Sunday 4:30 Giants Vikings.
Yeah.
What do you think?
The Giants. the Giants are the classic well-coached, overachieving team. You know, they were not supposed to be good. They're a lot like the Bills team that broke the drought with Tyrod Taylor, who coincidentally is on the team. You know, but Dable did the smart thing that, like, not only did he keep Daniel Jones out, he sat Tyrod just in case, you know, something will happen. That way he'd have a viable player. Minnesota, you know, they got the big names. Obviously, they got Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, but I don't have a lot of faith in Kirk Cousins. You know,
yeah, they said the game wasn't at 1:00, so he's in trouble.
Yeah,
you know, prime time Kurt, even though it's 4:30, is in big trouble.
Yeah, like he chokes like the Michigan Wolverines habitually. So. I'm thinking the Giants are going to win, but yeah, I think this is more of a team where I wouldn't be surprised if Minnesota won.
Yeah, no, I know. I think it came down to a field goal in the regular season. Minnesota beat the Giants by a field goal. And I look at this game as like Minnesota probably is not nearly as good as their record. The Giants are probably about as good as their record, but could get lucky in like a crappy NFC wild card round against Minnesota, who's won every game by a field goal. I think they actually were like outscored in their games, but have like a 12 or 13 win season, you know, something crazy like that.
They were at one point, and they beat like a whole bunch of backup quarterbacks, and then just like fluke things. Obviously, the Bills lost the game, but how often do you see a botched snap? Usually, even if you botch the snap, you recover it. The other team doesn't recover it when you're under center. So how often do you see that? So,
the Jets had 6 or 7 red zone possessions and 1 touchdown against the Vikings. Giants lost by a field goal.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they're
Miami didn't have Tua when they beat Miami.
I think they're a fool's gold, but it's like I don't know how much I really believe in the Giants.
Yeah,
but this is what never happens to the Jets. Is that there's just like this ridiculously easy road potentially. Like if San Francisco gets knocked off, I hate to say it, like the Giants could probably make it to the Super Bowl.
They could.
Like it's like one of those years. Like they basically played backups this week against the Eagles, and it was a competitive game towards the end. And that's the number 1 seed in the division. So San Fran gets knocked off. They get by Minnesota. Anything could happen with the Giants. And they could certainly make a run, which is pretty scary, or saying not very much about the NFC with the other teams being the last game we'll talk about is
no one expected
Cowboys.
Cincinnati last year. I
know
everybody thought it was Bills or Chiefs. You know.
Yeah. So the only other 2 teams in that division. It's actually kind of pathetic when you read these, like how bad these teams are.
The Cowboys are so inconsistent,
and Tampa Bay, who had a losing record.
Yeah.
Like we can't even win our division because of you guys right now, and these teams could just literally go right from a super wild card to all the way to the NFC Championship, fairly easily. That's
unbelievable. For me, as a Bills fan, I think I may have said this before, my Super Bowl, I want Bills Buccaneers, which obviously the Buccaneers are a long shot to make it, but it would just make it so much sweeter to finally win one. And do it by knocking off, your old. It's hard to call him a nemesis because we never really beat him. I would think in order to be someone's nemesis, you would have had to beat them.
I'm not sure he considers the Bills a rival. I think you beat him twice.
Yeah, so it would be a big deal. One of them was Fitzy, the famous thing where he wouldn't shake his hand.
I think the Cowboys will get by. I really don't think Tampa Bay is very good in this game. I think, they played terrible last week, the Cowboys, but really Tampa Bay has not shown much at all. I mean, Fournette hasn't done much. Mike Evans finally, I think, caught a touchdown last week. Hasn't had much before. They had a big game. I think he had 180 yards or something. But unless they're just going to continue to, score at will like they did last week, they haven't scored much at all. I think every one of their games was under like 20 points or something like that, or somewhere around there. They're really one of the lowest scoring teams in the NFL. And I don't think that's going to be enough to get it done against Dallas.
Yeah, no, they never could really get the offense, going, except maybe, I think maybe was it 2 weeks last week, the week before that, I think they had a big output. But yeah, other than that, it's been a very pedestrian, offense there by Tampa. So
Yeah, when you're squeaking by Carolina, New Orleans to make the playoffs, it's like you probably didn't have that great of a year. I can't believe they got it. Like, that is so Tom Brady that he literally gets in the playoffs as a division winner at 8-9.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, just get this guy out for once.
How about Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay not making it in, which was a funny situation at the end of the game that Jameson Williams wanted to trade jerseys with Aaron Rodgers, and Rodgers was like, "No, I think I'm good. I'm going to keep this one."
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like that's some sack on Jameson Williams because he doesn't even know him. Just go up to a guy you don't know and change jerseys. Usually you do that
it might be his last game ever for Green Bay too. So I'm sure that might be some breaking news by you right there. We might have the last game based on the non-jersey swap.
Yeah. You never know.
But yeah, I actually just thinking about that game just made me think of like the two moves that were made by some of the players this week. That it's like the lowest emotional intelligence I think I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, number one, the two players on Green Bay, like, pushing the training staff.
Yes. Like, who does that?
Who does that? Especially who does that this week? And then the Steelers players, with the CPR celebration after the sack dance. I know apparently they've done it before, but it's like, you got to know, you got to read the room, buddy, and know where you've been. If you're going to pull that maneuver like now, it's just the most disrespectful thing I've seen in so long.
I know. Like, if that's planned out in advance, like, how does that conversation go? Hey, you know what, Glenn? If I get a sack or you get a sack, why don't we do the CPR thing this week? And then you're like, oh, yeah that's a great idea. Like,
yeah, that's the sad thing is you needed two people to actually come up with, like, agreeing to do that.
Mm-hmm. And like, was anyone else in their room when they came up with this? This is a great idea. Unbelievable.
Yeah, and then the one guy from Green Bay watches the other player push the training staff, and he's like, "Oh, I'll run into him as well." That seemed like that was a smart move. And they even cut over to LaFleur. He's like, "Use your head, guys! Like, what are you doing?"
Yeah.
So, but yeah, definitely, an emotional week of football. Great outcome, obviously, so far in the Damar Hamlin situation. I know he's back in Buffalo. We hit on it earlier. Just phenomenal to see. For you guys, exciting that you're heading on to the playoffs, and we'll see what happens moving forward. We're heading off into the abyss for another season to try to figure it out. But we'll definitely talk a lot more off-season Jets and some in-season playoff Bills in the next few weeks.
Yeah, well, the exciting thing is, I know this all too well, when your team's not good, is figuring out who your quarterback's going to be next year. So I could imagine.
Yeah, I'm sure we'll guess and see reports all over the place and continue to kind of monitor the situation. But yeah, it's fun. This is the most exciting time. I mean, this week and next week are really packed with football. Pretty exciting.
Monday night playoff game, which is weird. Apparently they did it last year. The Rams were in the Monday night game, so it didn't affect them going to the Super Bowl. But that was the first thing I thought when I saw it. I'm surprised I didn't remember until I looked it up. But it's like, is this unfair to the teams playing Monday night that then they have a shorter week to prepare? But obviously not, because it didn't affect the Rams. So.
No, and then your favorite week, the Championship Sunday.
Yes,
maybe
love
you have to
Championship
bring
Sunday.
the party back for Championship Sunday.
I think I may have to do so. Those were good times. Championship Sunday party. You're guaranteed at least one of the games is good.
Yeah, that's for sure. But yeah, it's good seeing Terp, bringing him on. Nice to get a perspective from somebody in the stadium. And we'll see. Good luck to your guys this week.
All right.
All right, buddy.
All right, man. Have a good
week. We'll talk to you later.
See ya.
Thank you for listening to Rivals Sports Pod. Please make sure to like and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. You can also email us at rivalsportspod@gmail.com with any topics, ideas, or questions.